Most people can't even tell you who the DNC chair is right now. And that's because Ken Martin's a quiet guy. And I talk to people like Keith Ellison, who's on all the time. My buddy from Minnesota told me before he got elected, Ken Martin, he's a behind-the-scenes quiet guy who gets things done. Okay, but it falls on the leaders running for president. On my show, listeners kept begging last year for Democrats to announce they're running for president way in advance because they knew that it'll take the personality of a person to transcend our party brand and then redefine us. So the next Barack Obama, which we all pray for, the next person who inspires us, whoever that might be in this field, there's going to be a lot of good candidates. I hope a lot of good candidates. And if we win in 2028, then all these problems are solved. Right? Look at this. We figured it out. We're great right now. But right now, the leaders of our party are the ones that brought us to a place where we've lost the House, the Senate, a majority of the governorships, and the White House. And they're still going the old playbook and take it, be safe about it. Don't touch the hot button issues. Don't talk about like the Palestinian issue. I'm like, look at the polling. Look where your own party is. You don't even, and they don't even care. It's not like there goes my people. I have to go follow them. Nope. The elite leaders just sit back and do what they keep doing, and nothing changes because it's about raising money over and over. So, Max, I think at the end of the day, the leadership of 2028, whoever becomes our nominee, will be the person who will define our party going forward. It won't be statements at the DNC or platform papers. It'll be whoever we choose. And I'm hoping that we really choose someone inspiring that will talk about policy in a way that moves people. And I keep bringing up Zoran, not for the template, like you have to follow his policies, but he gave specific policy proposals that if you thought about it, you're like, that really is going to change my life for the better. That's what we need.
Max, it's World Cup season, so I'm going to deliver a little bit of an own goal on myself. I've worked in Democratic Party politics and national politics for about 20 years. I worked for Majority Leader Harry Reid, Debbie Stabenow, Frank Lautenberg. Right? I am a Washington creature by most people's accounting. The heat and the energy of this party does not exist within the four walls of Washington, D.C. and the corridors of Capitol Hill. It is all out in the states and in the cities and in the communities. It's the people in Minnesota who push back against ICE. It is the people in Maine who organize for Graham Plattner. It is the people all around the country who have just said, enough is enough. We in our community are going to organize, and we're going to be the change. The change is not coming from whether it's Chuck Schumer or Dick Durbin or Brian Schatz or whoever the next Senate Democratic leader is going to be. It's not going to be from Hakeem Jeffries. It is going to be from people all around the country who have the rank and file appeal of Democrats outside of Washington, D.C. And I think that's a lesson that I've taken from this era is that the top-down thing it's gone. It doesn't work. I would say the flashpoint, the climax point of that was the Biden-Harris kind of debacle. I think Vice President Harris was dealt a tough hand, but the debacle that was the end of the Biden-Harris presidency, that's the flashpoint. I think that meant the end of an era where people in Washington, D.C., people who allegedly knew better and who had more information were making decisions for people who weren't in the room. That's over.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Joel, what are some of the races that are getting you excited this cycle?
Yeah, lots of them. I mean, we talked about the race up in Maine. I think, look, Graham Plattner is obviously a candidate who's got a lot to deal with. I think he's got a pretty good shot to be the next senator from Maine. I think in a +8 state for Democrats, I think, in 2024, Kamala Harris won that state by 8 points. I think Graham Plattner has a really good shot to do that. I think Talarico in Texas obviously has folks very excited. I think there's some interesting House races. You've got some really dynamic young House candidates like Chris Rabb in Pennsylvania, right? You've got, folks out west. You've got Sam Montag out in Virginia. What I like about this is that Democrats are demonstrating that there is more than one template of a Democrat, right?
Yep.
Democrats have a very broad appeal and a very broad brand when the party is doing its business the right way, which is finding people who make sense and connect in their communities. I think Abdul Al-Sayed in Michigan is an amazing candidate. And he is going to certainly have Republicans coming at him in a certain way, but he's also going to open up a vein of new support and open up trust with voters who have long since dismissed the Democratic Party. So I think the Democratic Party is in an era now where you're finding candidates who are opening up new voters to the brand and to the party, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. And Rob Sand, too, that you mentioned earlier for governor, I think has coattails in the sense that there are now House races in Iowa that are competitive that were not before. There's a Senate race that is competitive and is forcing Republicans to spend some money. And that is a big deal. I mean, watching Republicans suddenly shift money to these races they thought were safe 6 months ago is a really gratifying thing for a Democrat who's used to seeing that happen the other way for us. Dean, who's on your radar?
Look, I'm very focused on New York City because I live here, and the primary is Tuesday. But I'm intrigued in the bigger picture about Dan Goldman, Brad Lander race. I think that's very interesting to me. You've got also, I live in New York's 12th congressional district at Gerald Nadler's seat where he's not running for re-election. And there's not like a true, like way left person in this district running. But I'm interested there. There's also a race with Clara Valdez and Antonio Reynoso, which is an open seat in like Brooklyn, Queens area. So those are, to me, I'm really intrigued with that. In addition to what Joel was like, Abdullah Saeed, I've known for a long time. I had him on my show when he ran for governor the first time, a whole bunch of other times, and now running for Senate. He's someone that I find to be inspiring and really smart. I look at this younger pundit class of like Hassan Piker and how he gets demonized and then he goes to the candidate and that candidate happens to win. And all of a sudden people are not talking about this stuff as much. Like, oh, okay, well, maybe he can help us win. Adam Hamway in New Jersey's 12th district is a friend of mine. He was on my show before, as a doctor who went to Gaza to share with my listeners what it was like there. Also, he runs for Congress as the Democratic nominee in a district which he should win there. So there's a lot, and I hate to make it New York, New Jersey centric, but living here, I see these people firsthand. And there's races across the country too that I'm looking forward to November. I wish November would get here already. I wish the election was tomorrow, to be honest.
And I'll just say this too. And by the way, Dean, you never have to apologize. I'm a Jersey kid, so
good.
Never apologize for too much New Jersey content. I would say this 2028 field, which is very much developing, it's simmering right beneath the surface. Look, I worked the 2008 presidential race. I worked for John Edwards, where that race you had a significant amount of Democrats who, whether they became president, ran for president, were the party's nominee, were top tier candidates. You will have that 4X, I think, in 2028.
Yeah.
You are going to have a tier one of candidates that's maybe like an AOC, a Gavin Newsom, a Pete Buttigieg, a Kamala Harris. And then you're going to have to, if you're John Ossoff, right? John Ossoff might be on your tier two, right now, entering the race, because those folks all enter the race with such a high floor. I mean, this will be a dynamic opportunity for Democrats to have the type of fights that are healthy. And actually, I kind of, that's the point I take from all of this is Democrats need to be comfortable with having healthy fights about the things that have been swept under the rug for a long time. You got to have hard conversations. You got to let the voters decide this stuff and figure it out. I know a lot of people were anxious about what happened in Maine. Maine voters figured it out. Let them figure it out. Let voters figure it out around the country.